Welcome, everybody, to Den Excelsior, the Mostly Marvel podcast. I'm Ricky.
Whoa.
With me, as always, is Dennis. This is your show for the week of September 15th, 2023.
You just
Talking
brought
about-
me in here.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, I don't know. You liked being brought in? You want to be introduced?
I just didn't expect it. I was over here reading stuff, and I'm like, oh wait, I'm on the show.
I gave you like an extra 10 seconds head start.
Thanks. Appreciate
But we're talking Harley Quinn, wrapping that shit up. that we're wrapping it up. It was good, and we're talking about Mortal Kombat, the old MK, the first movie back from 1995, 1994.
Was it?
That shows my research for this movie.
Was it 90, 92? Oh wait, no, 95. 95, yeah. I think you're right. I think it's 95.
Okay. So I was one when that movie came out. But you know who wasn't one when that movie came out? Friend of the show, Clark.
Were you too?
Because I saw the movie when it came out.
That's fair. Yes, welcome back, Clark. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for bringing me on.
Yeah, so we talked about this last week, and we were saying, we were talking about Highlander last week, right? And Ricky kind of blew my mind, and Frank was in the audience hanging out, and he was also quite surprised to find out that Ricky didn't know who Christopher Lambert was because he'd never seen Mortal Kombat. And we're like, wait, what? And he's like, is that something that I should watch? And I was like, I don't know if you need to watch it. And then Frank's like, absolutely. And then I remembered that, we like to coincide, these shows with what we talk about with things going on in pop culture, because we don't always have a superhero movie or show to discuss. Or sometimes we feel like Harley Quinn is not enough to fill a full hour of the show. So I realized, hey, you know what? Mortal Kombat 1, the brand new video game, actually came out today, as we're recording this on Thursday, September 14th. And it came out today, and I've been playing it throughout the day. And I love those games, and I just really thought what was really cool about the movie, whether or not you are a fan of it, is it introduced Mortal Kombat to an even bigger audience than ever knew about it before. You know what I mean? So that's why we're doing that today.
I hope to bring some bigger historical context to it, because it is a movie that really does deserve a place in the pantheon of video game movies and pop culture movie, comic book movies and stuff as well. But we'll get into that. I also, before we get too far though, I have to mention about Highlander. I think it's great that Highlander is a series where the tagline is "There could be only one," that spawned multiple movies, TV shows, spin-offs, and clearly
there are cartoons. There are
clearly
cartoons hilarious. We still have the stupid trench coat on.
There's more than one.
There's multiple cartoons.
Yes.
And somehow they have to get around the head chopping off thing. It's really awkward. It's really weird. You know what? In fairness, though, it's because that was a cartoon on USA Network, the original one. You know what else was a cartoon on USA Network? Mortal Kombat.
Yes.
And I'm just like, what?
I mean, that was in vogue back in the day, right? You guys had a rainbow cartoon.
That's as awkward as Terminator 2 and RoboCop toys.
There were the RoboCop cartoon.
It's weird, man. It's weird.
Yeah. Kids these days are too soft.
It's true. It's true. But yeah, no, there was a lot of weird things going on in kids media back then. But but hey, it helped propel certain things to a higher status than just ever, the one thing could have. Like the one Highlander movie by itself wasn't enough. It had to be the sequel that was completely bonkers, and then the TV show that came out right after the sequel, and then two other sequels, and then like another TV show. It just had to keep going and going and going. And so Mortal Kombat's similar, and there's a lot of franchises. And like, I think, we call this the Mostly Marvel podcast, but we really like to stretch that mostly part as far as we can, because like, we really just like to talk about the things in pop culture that fuel us, and hey man, I'm not gonna lie,
Content is content, baby.
Mortal Kombat's definitely one of the things that is ingrained in my pop culture lexicon, I suppose. So but yeah, before we get into talking about more about how what Mortal Kombat means to us or whatever, what have you guys been nerding out on this week? And you're not allowed to say Mortal Kombat because we already know
that. Spending my time between Starfield and Baldur's Gate 3. Both fantastic, both incredibly immersive stories.
It's a pretty crazy time to be a gamer right now.
You're on an island and you get to take one. Which one is it?
I'd have to go with Baldur's Gate 3.
You heard it here. Clark said Stargates or Starfield sucks.
Yeah. I did. I so far I love them both, but I just know like Baldur's Gate 3 is just going to keep on playing and playing and playing, and there's so many ways that I could play it. Starfield though is incredibly huge as well, and I will admit this last week I've played more Starfield than Baldur's Gate 3, but that's because it just came out, and I've had Baldur's Gate 3 for a month because I bought the PC.
I felt really weird about cheating on Baldur's Gate today to play Mortal Kombat. I gotta say. Like, it was a weird feeling. Like but I was like, it feels nice. It's kind of relaxing because whereas Baldur's Gate is you crafting a story, Mortal Kombat's just like, sit back, relax. We're gonna tell you a story, and I'm like, thanks, I appreciate that. It's like watching a movie, It's watching a movie, and then like every 10 minutes you got to fight something really quick, and then you go back to the movie.
Yeah.
I will mention just this one in attention to detail and to sort of suck you in Starfield. There's a scene where a ship comes up and it hails you, and if you answer it, it says, "Oh, thank you. We'd like to talk about your ship's extended warranty that has expired."
That's pretty funny.
Nice.
I'd blow it up.
That's and which you can, which you have that option, and
nice.
I thought that was pretty funny. I've also been. I became a Galaxy Ranger, which if you watched 80s cartoons, that was one of my favorite, and it's pretty cool. I get my own space shooter, a la Firefly-ish stuff. The combination space western. It's a great game, but that's if you have an Xbox or a PC. If not, Baldur's Gate 3 is one of the greatest games ever made. So play that. So that's what I've been nerding over.
Yeah, you're not watching anything lately?
I actually haven't been watching as much. I've been playing, mostly playing. My Adventures with Superman is great. I've been watching that. And finally, finishing up Superman and Lois season 3. So those are kind of what I've been watching, but not. And I finally saw Oppenheimer in 70 millimeter pure IMAX at the Universal Studios IMAX screen, and that was intense.
How depressing was that?
It's watching any movie, watching any government hearings just will depress you because you're just like sad because you just know how much BS is behind all of it. But it was an amazing film to watch, especially to see IMAX used not for spectacle but for storytelling. Mm-hmm. And I know more about Cillian Murphy's face than I will ever need to, because it's just way up there. But and Emily Blunt was amazing. The Oscars are going to be filled with this cast when the nominations come out.
What's the best Nolan movie that's not Batman?
I like The Prestige a lot. That's a really good one.
I'm a Prestige guy.
I like The Prestige. It's a great
Interstellar
movie.
Creeps up every now and then though. I really enjoyed that movie, but Prestige is chef's kiss.
You know what? I loved Inception so much that I've never seen it again.
Clark?
I've never watched Inception after the first time I watched it.
I have, and Inception, of course, is amazing. There's so many ones, but I'm gonna have to agree with you guys on Prestige, because the first time watching that, and when the twist happens, which I did not see coming, and
Good twist.
Yeah,
and just though again, the acting and the presentation, and and that was again another case of where Hollywood brought out two movies, because there was The Prestige and The Illusionist. That both came out at the same time with Ed Norton as the other, but The Prestige was the better of the two, I believe.
Fun fact about Inception: I went to go see that movie with my grandmother. Kinda. I had landed in San Diego on vacation, and she's like, "You want to go to the movies?" I'm like, "Sure." She proceeds to take us to the mall to go watch the movie. Buys just me a ticket, and just leaves. So I was like bamboozled into watching, hoodwinked into watching it. Inception.
What, did she need you to like gone for a while? Is that
I
what
guess?
happened?
I don't know why.
That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny.
That is babysitting in the modern era.
What about you, Ricky? What have you been nerding out on?
What have I been nerding out on? I've been dabbling into Baldur's Gate. That game's rough on a controller. I almost want to plug in a mouse and keyboard. I don't know if I am, but I do like the hour or so that I played of it. That's what I figured.
I like it with the controller.
I'm sure the controller is just fine and stuff, but yeah, that's you could tell that it was designed for a mouse and a keyboard.
Yeah.
But the controller works just fine.
Yeah.
And in some ways it's more relaxing.
Yeah.
But other than that, not much on my spectrum. There's a lot of stuff that I want to watch. I totally forgot, like, After Party season 2 is already out and done. Gotta get in that. Gotta finish Reservation Dogs. But like all of us, I just don't have enough time.
You know what?
I started watching One Piece, the live action.
I was just gonna say that.
I've heard great things about it. I don't like anime.
I
like this.
I watched the first 5 minutes of the first episode with my wife, like as like kind of a just for fun, just to see. And we're on episode 6 now because we like this show.
It's 9 episodes? 10 episodes?
I think it's 8. I think it's 8 episodes. I'm not sure, but it's pretty great. Like you have to embrace the weird. It's a pirate and superhero show.
Well, I know what One Piece is.
I've never watched it. I've never watched it before.
Being a nerd on this planet who goes to a convention.
I didn't know anything about it other than there were pirates, but I didn't know there was a super stretchy guy.
There's a stretchy guy, and there's a...
I knew a little bit. I knew the stretchy guy. I knew
there's a guy with a pointy nose.
The guy who plays Luffy is just so perfectly cast.
He is amazing
and is
so charming. He's so charming.
Yes, so earnest, so charming. And I'd watch it just for him.
Yeah, he's great, but the rest of them are pretty solid too. Like the cast is quite endearing. You get pulled in, and it's pretty...
you could tell these are people that love the manga or the anime. They got people that knew what they were doing. I've heard
from other anime haters like me that the show is pretty good, so that might swing me to watch it.
It's got an 8.5 out of 10,
and it was just announced that it was renewed for season 2. Which, unfortunately, though, when it comes to Netflix, that just means hopefully it'll happen.
Well, season 2s are always a cool thing, but also new series. So with that, let's get into the news.
Trying so hard to move it along that he wouldn't even let us nerd out about Ahsoka.
Oh, that was intentional. We can loop back around Ahsoka after the news.
All right, fine. We'll do that at the end. We'll do it at the end.
Harley Quinn, Kite Man, hell yeah. Harley Quinn spinoff Kite Man, hell yeah, is coming next year, 2024. They dropped the trailer as a post-credits reveal at the end of Harley Quinn season season 4. Are we excited for more Kite Man adventures in the Harley Quinn universe?
So I mean, this kind of bleeds into the Harley Quinn discussion later, but like, a lot was riding on this episode of Harley Quinn for me to decide, like, are you going to end it on a cliffhanger, or are you going to end the show, like end it? Because I heard this was the last season. And once I saw this Kite Man trailer and I saw the end of the episode, I was like, oh, I don't think they're done with this universe by a mile. Like,
We talked about it last week.
I think season 5 is definitely happened of Harley Quinn. So I guess I'm happy, but like I was a little shocked when I saw this because I thought we were closing the book on them and we're not. And so yeah, I'm excited for this, I guess. Yeah.
I think I'm down for the sheer fact that I really like that universe that they built.
Yeah.
And it would be and without sounding weird, like I want to see someone else's perspective from that universe.
Yeah, I feel like we can get closer to the Tick with Kite Man, than we can with Harley. Harley's still a little too mainstream, right? But like Kite Man's ridiculous because he's Kite Man, So yeah. What about you, Clark?
And what's interesting is taking a character like that in this universe that has so clearly shown that they're perfectly willing to go off in directions that the main DC universe or movies or anything would never do. I mean, that's one of the things about Harley Quinn that's both refreshing, but you have to be on board with that. This goes completely different directions than regular DC, but then that's a lot of fun. So yeah, I agree with you. I mean, who's gonna imagine Kite Man versus Darkseid? It's happening.
It's kind of like beating Squirrel Girl to the punch, right? Like
yes,
it's like it should have been. We should have had a Squirrel Girl TV show by now, but we don't. So
yeah,
we're gonna take Kite Man, and that's fine.
Well, I think speaking of pushing things in new directions, Marvel's Werewolf by Night is coming back, and now in color. So starting on October 20th, if you're a Hulu subscriber, Disney Plus subscriber, you can watch Marvel's Werewolf by Night in color. So if you remember last year when I think it came out this time last year.
Is that good?
I'm it's very interesting to see Disney's new recycling program.
Were you planning on rewatching Werewolf by Night come the holidays or come Halloween season? Was that ever in your
No, I wasn't.
No? Okay.
Unlike Guardians, I will watch that every Christmas. Every Christmas I'll watch that. But I wasn't gonna rewatch Werewolf by Night, so I guess I will.
I liked Werewolf by Night.
I really did like Werewolf by Night. It was great.
It just kind of shows again how Disney is.
It's the better of the special
stretching their
It's not
trying to stretch their content.
Presentations.
Sorry, it's the best Disney special presentation.
Guardians is the best of the special presentations.
It's the best holiday themed one.
Guardians is both.
It's the best one with Drax in it.
I'm sorry. You can say it's the best one without Kevin Bacon, and I will take that. I'll take that. It's the best one without Kevin Bacon. But you ask Travis about his opinion about Marvel's Werewolf by Night, and you'll get a very different answer.
Oh yeah.
So, and I get it. It's an old school werewolf. It's kind of weird, So, but I guess they got me because I will rewatch it in color to see how different it looks.
Well, we can continue this color debate because something else got released today.
Oh boy,
that's full of color.
Oh yeah,
Ant-Man, Aquaman, Aquaman 2: The Lost Kingdom of God.
The movie you forgot was still coming.
Coming out in December.
This looks about as entertaining as Ant-Man 3, so it's a fair comparison that you made there on accident. I didn't care about this trailer at all. I watched it.
It's Aquaman. He has a seahorse.
I think the most charming thing about this trailer is that it confirmed that James Wan does not know how to make a movie without Patrick Wilson.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And I like Patrick Wilson. So
Patrick Wilson.
I mean, I like
that I like Orn.
Black Manta, and I'm like, all right, he's back. I don't know if that's cool, but sure.
I felt like Black Manta got robbed the spotlight he deserved in the first movie. So yes, that is appropriate that he's back. But
during some press while he was doing this, they had mentioned, I don't know if you remember, there was a Aquaman Trench movie that was announced a while back ago. That got canceled, but he had mentioned that was actually going to be a Black Manta movie, for whatever it's worth.
But why? I mean, that doesn't make sense. This is better.
I feel like, didn't this movie do like $1 billion in China?
Yeah, it was. No, not in China. It was huge here too. This was the most successful DC movie at when it came out, and so it's like this
slap
is
a 2 on it.
A big Well, they're gonna slap a 2, and it won't do as well as the first one, but I think it'll do well. I like James Wan. I think it'll be fun. I do like the pretty colors, but I really like the
very
first
colorful trailer.
Yeah,
very colorful.
So I'm excited
on the drums.
Yeah, I hope so. Go for it.
I fell asleep through that part, so I don't remember.
Oh.
Yeah,
I saw Aquaman in the 4D chair with the water and the wind.
That's a good way to.
Yeah, no, that's a good
way. It actually was really immersive.
Losing my shit when they came out of the water to Pitbull, because that was like the funniest thing ever. But that's the news.
But also, just it's the final nail in sort of the coffin, so to speak, of the old DC universe. Just let it pass.
If this movie makes $1 billion, it will not be the final nail. I guarantee that.
I still say he's moving on to Lobo.
I don't want him as Lobo. I really don't.
Yeah,
I don't want Lobo.
Lobo.
I don't know if I want a Lobo anything.
You don't get to know what you want. You don't know what you want. You don't know what you want. But by the way, last bit of news.
Do you have Apple products?
I do.
Then you don't get to know what you want.
That's true. It's true. Last bit of news that you missed. The Giant Man is currently at 45% funded, with many weeks to go. It's pretty good. That's pretty good.
It just came, yesterday or today?
No, that was last week. I think
that was last week. Okay.
It was last Friday, right? Friday. Yeah. Friday is when the crowdfund started. Yeah. So we're 6 days in, and it's 45%.
Well, I guess the other bit of 20s, they announced Detroit Steel. It's PulseCon exclusive, right?
That was actually announced at Comic-Con. Like they showed him at Comic-Con. But yes, he is officially the only PulseCon exclusive, which it actually said that on his tag at Comic-Con. But yeah, that's a new toy that'll be coming out. We don't have pictures of it, so oh well. But yeah, do you want to move on?
Let's move on. Spotlight. We are talking about Harley Quinn first, season 4, episode 9?
10.
Episode 10.
It was episode 10. According to everywhere I searched, it was the last episode of the season. Season.
Last season was 10 too. Right?
Yeah. Season 1
it
was
felt
13.
like a season ending.
Season 1 was 13, season 2 was 11, and then 3 was 10, and this one's 10. It felt like a season end. Spoiler warning, by the way. It did not feel like a series end.
No.
Like, not even close.
Yeah, I
literally ended on a cliffhanger. Like, and so I think they left me in a weird spot where it's like, it's kind of like Spider-Man Beyond or Across the Spider-Verse ending on a cliffhanger in the middle of a giant writer strike. You know what I mean? You're like, okay, so you're not finishing the story here, but we have no idea when we'll get the next one, right? And that's not a good feeling. It's like, because as far as I've heard is that James Gunn was planning to kill this show, right? But like, it doesn't feel like he's killing the show, so that makes me just question what's going on at DC right now. Is
I
like,
don't think they know what's going on in DC.
I know that's fair. That's fair. But it's just frustrating because it's like, if you're gonna give us a plan, stick to the plan, but like they don't want to give us a plan. They don't want to, because then they have to feel compelled to stick to it somehow.
Yeah.
What's up? Yeah, they have to follow it. So
I would bet that season 5 pre-strike is probably further along than we all think it is.
Okay. Fair enough. Now,
they do write the episodes first because it's animation.
Yeah, it's true. So, okay, let me get this out of the way so that we can actually talk about the show. I like Harley Quinn. I do think it's a fun show. I think Ricky's equated it to like King of the Hill before, where it's just a comfortable show to leave on in the background, right? Like you don't have to like give it your full attention. Like I used to in the first few seasons, I did give it my full attention. But as the show's gone on, and like I think it's kind of like, like Deadpool humor kind of doesn't work on repeat over and over and over again, right? And so like Harley Quinn humor, it just becomes a little less punchy every time. Like the gags are still there, the shock value is still there, the sex, the violence, all these things, it's all there, but like you become immune to it a little bit as you build up a tolerance. And so I'm not gonna sit here and say don't ever give me more Harley Quinn. No, in fact, the opposite. Like I actually almost cried when this episode started because it managed to squeeze in a tribute to Arlene Sorkin, potentially right before the show ended forever, or doesn't end forever. Who knows? But they got it in there, to pay the tribute. And so I think that just kind of added to the gravitas of the episode to me, like where I was hoping for something more meaningful to happen. And then when it finally came to the end and I saw the Kite Man trailer, I'm like, oh, okay, I guess this is just going to keep going. And so I have to like let it sit for a little while to like really just kind of appreciate the episode as it was, because I put too much pressure on the episode to wrap things up, That said, funny stuff happens in this episode, right? And we do get closure, right? Like, do you want to go over what happened, or like Ricky, what's your summary of what happened in this episode?
Harley and Ivy go to the moon base where Lex is having his birthday party.
His 16th, 40th birthday party.
16th, 40th birthday party on the moon base. Ivy decides to confront Lex. Fight ensues on the moon. They race rovers. They steal his giant laser and start blowing up shit on Earth. And
Oracle is born.
And then she calls Steppenwolf to come help blow up the moon. And the moon's blown up. They go back home and be happy. They form the not the Birds of Prey, because that's a dumb name, but the Gotham City Sirens
with Catwoman and Batgirl, or
Barbara in the wheelchair.
No longer Batgirl. Yes, yeah. And you missed the part where Lex actually stole all of Superman's powers. And
yes, he has the power armor. He has the cape. He stole his hair.
And his hair. Yeah. Yeah. So
and Batman decides to finally leave prison just as Alfred makes his way to prison.
Yes.
I think that was the other reason I'm like, you better give us another season, because we got a whole damn season without that Batman. And that Batman's funny, man. Like I love him. So
I think I'll concede with like the show's funny. Like, and to Dennis's point, I think the misses are more than hits, but the hits on the joke hit hard, at least for me, which is why I continue to watch it. But I think the real charm of this show is the ever rotating cast of characters that fade in and out of the spotlight.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Dr. Psycho.
Well, I mean, even that's he's one of them, right? There's all these chips on the board that they've done through the past 3 seasons, and they really don't introduce like a ton of new characters. They just kind of bring more or less more people or different people to the forefront, And I think that's kind of cool because that's what comics kind of are. You selling a new character in a comic book is like a tricky and difficult thing to do, right? So you go back to the hits, but to see them, and they don't totally,
the remix,
yeah, they
right?
don't ditch these characters either. You still get like a
Yeah.
shot or episode 2 where someone's lingering in the background doing something dumb funny.
Yeah.
That's
And
cool.
you usually introduce the new character on the pages of a more successful book.
Mhm.
Yeah. And in fairness, though, like Giancarlo Esposito has been Lex Luthor since season 1.
Exactly.
And he finally got to be in the spotlight this season, right? This was his villain arc. And his Lex Luthor arc was pretty hilarious and ridiculous. And I honestly, just like last season, where I was like, yeah, I could see a version of Batman that would raise the dead to bring back his parents. Yeah, I could see all of what Lex Luthor did this season being something that a version of Lex could do in some reality. So yeah, so it was fun, and it makes me understand why these actors, these really cool actors, are doing this show, because they get to do like alternate takes on these characters that are very iconic, and they'll like, we're never not gonna remember Lex's version or this version of Lex now after this story. It's stupid, it's hilarious, but it's funny.
And that's the point that I said at the beginning of about having this show just strays so far from the standard DC formula. And that's one of his great strengths, that, it really takes characters that are so iconic that they're also kind of locked into certain ways, and then just throws that out and just has fun with them. I mean, even the Clayface, how different do they portray Clayface in this? And it's wonderful. And we already went through previous seasons of King Shark and such. And but then but the big ones, what they do with Batman, it has been hilarious. And so different,
I did feel like this season was lacking from not enough Clayface or King Shark, though. Like,
yeah, it focused on the newer stuff. Yeah,
lacking and removed are two different things,
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the part of the charm for me.
Yeah, is that you do get them. You do get them sometimes. You just don't get them as often, right? Like, and I really did love Poison Ivy in this episode. She was pretty funny. Like, when she was just finally unhinged and she just wanted to blow shit up, that was it was pretty good. It was like, hey man, this is a supervillain.
I get it.
Fulfilling her goal of supervillaining, and they blew up some serious like real estate in Gotham City, and that was pretty cool, So
and I actually really like that part of you, right? Because I love Batgirl's one. I pushed the fire alarm 10 seconds ago, and then the point that Ivy makes about Harley, about, I love how you're bad, but you skate the line of good, because you still cared about all the people in the building.
Yeah.
Whereas she was just ready to go, and she's like, and that's what I love about you, that you still skirt that. And that's been the key aspect of Harley this entire series. That sums it up in that one.
She doesn't want innocent people to pay, but she will
right.
mess up somebody who's not.
But she will mess you up. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like, and that is, and and I think that this season did a good job. Like the episode did a good job of at least closing Harley Quinn's quest to figure out who she is, right? Like, so I think that they could end there if they wanted to, but as a person who would really like to see functioning Barbara Gordon in a wheelchair for an entire season, I want more. And I guess that's all you can ever ask for, right? Is a show that when it ends, you want more. And so I guess that's an endorsement from me. I guess I liked it enough that give me more. Do you agree?
Yeah, I'll watch Kite Man. I'll watch Harley Quinn season 5, and whatever else they put out. I like that world. I like that version of the DC universe. So the longer we get to stay in it in some capacity, I'm fine. Do I think we need to do an in-depth show on everything else that comes out? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll leave that to the powers that be.
Now, here's my question. Were you upset that Nightwing came back from the dead?
Me? No.
No.
Yeah. It was pretty obvious it had to happen. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
You
And
bring up the
again, in this
pit, anything
universe,
happens.
it was fun. Yeah. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
that's gonna be fun.
Yeah. To have him die so unceremoniously, in an episode, it felt like we're not done with this character. So I appreciate it.
I will say the last little nugget I'll say is like, I kind of wish they would have killed the Joker.
Yeah, well, they're not gonna.
I want, yeah, that seems like to be the biggest line, but I wish they would.
They're not gonna do it. They're not gonna do it. But I think we're all in favor of more Harley Quinn, so we can move on from this one and why don't we do the dive into the thing that I know Ricky was so happy to watch this week.
Mortal Kombat!
Now,
Oh, man.
really quick, I gotta know, like, Ricky,
Mhm.
how did you expect it to start as hard as it did and go right into the song? Did you expect that?
I didn't know the song is from the movie. I just thought this.
Wow.
I obviously have heard the song before, but I always just thought it was from
It
like
the commercial
internet.
with the song and the movie came out the same year. They came out at the same time.
Yeah.
So that
was
was
from Mortal
used
Kombat
in a
2.
trailer.
So the yelling, the Mortal Kombat, that's from a commercial for
Yes.
the game.
I feel like I knew that,
For the second game, was it?
I think it was Mortal Kombat 2.
Yeah.
but the actual the song.
The song is for the movie.
Okay, I thought it was just something like that was like early internet. Someone made a dumb remix and like because it was on a bunch of memes. Like
Man, that song was huge.
that song's great.
That song went hard, man.
Yeah,
that song went hard when it was in the new movie.
Since we're going on it right now, because I had to dedicate some part to that song because that song pumps. That is in like my top 3 of get pumped up songs. It is impossible for me to hear that song and not just like start going, yeah, let's go. I'm sorry from
Like that's
because
like
from then
90s.
and on, yeah, it is.
Look, Clark and I have seen this movie a lot. I haven't seen it recently. I probably the last time I watched it was when the new movie came out. Like, was last year or 2 years ago?
2 years ago, 2020.
Was it 2020? Wow, I forgot. But I honestly, as I hit play on it yesterday, I forgot that it just starts with the song and it just goes. And it's like, yeah, how can you not get psyched up for this movie, even if you've never seen this movie? And for a split second, when I heard that music, I remembered sitting in that theater and being so excited to see whatever this was. Even full well knowing this movie was PG-13 and it probably wasn't going to give me everything I needed out of Mortal Kombat, it still got me in the mood to be entertained by this thing. So, but with that said, out of the way, the music, like, I'm just curious, like, I guess I want to know Ricky's plot synopsis of Mortal Kombat.
Man. A bunch of characters are rounded up, all your favorites from the game, to participate in the Mortal Kombat tournament. And they do that. That there's some nuance there with some side quests, but they just do they do the tournament. Like it's
I mean, like, so yeah, Liu Kang. The movie starts with Liu Kang's brother being murdered by Shang Tsung.
Yeah.
And and then you find out that, like, he wants revenge, and you find out via Raiden, that played by Christopher Lambert, that this tournament has existed for countless, centuries, whatever. And the way it works is it's fought every generation, and if if it's the Earthrealm versus the Outworld, and if Outworld wins 10
10 times
battles
in a row,
they get to invade Earthrealm. And apparently they've won the last 9. So the fate of the world is in the hands of these combatants that Raiden has hand selected. Yes.
Let me throw this back at you guys. Was the lore for this game, did that exist before this movie came out, or was it very bare bones?
Oh, the lore is in the games. And that's the cool part about this movie is like the movie is quite respectful of the lore. Like make no mistake, this was the best video game movie ever made for a long time.
Yeah, I know they looped the movie back into like the lore, which is kind of cool.
No, it wasn't, and it wasn't just the lore. It was also the look of the levels and the characters, and
they've just looped the actors from the movies into the like franchise over the years because they're so beloved, right? Like Cary Tokugawa, that's his name, right? Cary?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like honestly, like if you read about like the behind the scenes, like he was the first person to audition for Shang Tsung, and he was the last person they needed to see. Like that guy, and I would say that guy and Robin Shou,
yeah,
the guy that plays Liu Kang. I say you could take all the other ridiculous characters in that movie and you could recast them. It's fine. It doesn't matter. They're all interesting. They're all fun.
Well,
but those 2 actors sold that movie as hard as they could.
It's so funny that you say that because that's just what they did for the sequel.
Well, they kept Katana also.
Yeah.
Well,
they did keep Katana.
I'll say like first time I saw the movie, coming at it with that lens and knowing how dumb's not the word, but ridiculous the lore is for the games and it has been. In my mind, if you had asked a 10-year-old to write a Mortal Kombat movie, this is exactly what they would have wrote. For the better or the worse dialogue and all. And I kind of liked it. I liked it. If you get past like the dumbness of it, it's fun. Because I think they go there to like with the sets are pretty fantastic. The Goro shit's too well done for it to be not funny. And then like the Johnny Cage one-liners are just hilarious. Like it's those are $500 sunglasses. Like, dude, like, and there's just an overall like cheese to it that is just oh so delicious. And I can't fault it for doing what it did.
The director, Paul W.S. Anderson.
W.S. Anderson.
Not to be confused with Paul Anderson.
Yes. The 2 Paul Andersons in Hollywood are so different.
So I think Ricky, this movie, you watched it, you said it's fun. And I definitely, I was pretty sure you would say it's fun because like you've definitely seen worse movies that you've said were fun. So I don't think it's surprising to you to know that this movie made a ton of money, right?
Oh, like, I believe it. Like especially for the 90s, like in that context,
yeah,
this is pretty good for then,
Yeah. So
you guys were done back then.
We were done.
Well, again, this is way before Marvel movies. This is before Spider-Man. This is before X-Men. This is before Blade. We had just had Batman Forever. There was actually very little genre movies coming out now, and we have to mention Street Fighter the movie.
Whew, that movie's bad.
Yes, which is bad. And like. For me, it's so bad it's fun. Plus, Raul Julia's performance is just so great. And it's so sad that was his final performance. But that being said, they cobbled together some strange plot for that had nothing to do with the game and the characters were so pigeonholed. It just made this movie, from a technical standpoint, look so even better.
But you know what? Like, honestly, though, like it's that speaks to the question that Ricky was asking earlier, which was like, was the lore there already? And to me, that's actually why I preferred Mortal Kombat to Street Fighter. Is I love playing Street Fighter games, right? I love all the Marvel versus Street Fighter and all these games. But honestly, you try to tell me what the story is of Street Fighter, I don't freaking know, man.
Chun-Li has to win to get a boyfriend.
But like, that's the thing, is it's just a bunch of people all competing in a tournament for different reasons. And so the thing is like Mortal Kombat, even in the first game, if you stick around after you lose your quarters and you watch, each time they give you like character summaries, and you start to piece together, there's this grand tournament, and the fate of existence is held in the hands of the winner. And so it's there from the very beginning, and then Mortal Kombat 2 just expanded on it even more. Like, they just went hard into lore and just like had all these extra characters. And so essentially what you got by the time this movie came out was they were taking all the lore that existed from 1 and 2 and anything else that, you know, Ed Boon and John Tobias had been contributing to as consultants on this movie. And so you get a movie that's actually way more faithful than I think we ever expected, because of something like Street Fighter. Because Street Fighter had already come out by this point, right? Like it came out before this movie,
right?
And it was trash, man. That movie was terrible. And so, you know, I think a lot of us were very apprehensive about Mortal Kombat. And in fairness, you know, they took some shortcuts in the story to just so that they could, for brevity, right? For brevity's sake. So like, when you meet Scorpion and Sub-Zero, Shang Tsung gives you that really quick line about they're mortal enemies, but under my control, they are, you know, faithful servants or whatever. And so you're like, okay, you're gonna gloss over the history that Sub-Zero and Scorpion have for this movie.
Was that there though? I feel like that stuff came later. Like the Bihan and
they were there. They are mortal enemies in the original movie, or the original games too. And it just got, obviously it gets expanded even more and more as it goes.
Yeah.
But by 2, it was very clearly known that Sub-Zero and Scorpion were enemies. And by Mortal Kombat 3, you have a different guy who's Sub-Zero, who's trying to get revenge on Scorpion for killing the original Sub-Zero. So you know, and that's kind of the funny thing about the games is, right, like every character you play as, when you beat the game, you get your own ending. And so like each time they make a sequel, they narratively have to like cobble together whatever version of all the stories played out, right? So so it's fine that this movie can do its own story, which, you know, everybody accepted. I think the accepted ending of 1, in order for 2, Mortal Kombat 2, the video game, is Liu Kang won the battle, right? That's I think the official canon story of Mortal Kombat 2 is Liu Kang won the first tournament. And so, you know, they kind of went with that, but they do a lot of other things in their own direction. But it's okay, because like here we are now. We're on the 12th Mortal Kombat game, and they've rebooted the franchise several times within these games. And each time they decide to zig where they zagged the last time, you know, so they want to explore these characters going through different things. And I think that's why it's okay if they keep expanding on the lore, or they keep changing the lore every now and then, because the characters are what make people come back, you know, but it's not specifically like their individual little baggage and stuff. It's just the charm of the characters, right? So like,
yeah, they want the ice guy, the lizard guy, the forearm guy. Like, that's what you want.
Yeah. And exactly, you got it.
And you want Sonya Blade to say, "Where's Kano?"
Oh man, that's
so many times.
Kano wins.
She's honestly like the hardest part of the movie for me to watch,
Mhm.
like from beginning to end. Like I know that it was a get to get her to get was it Bridget Wilson, is that, or Bridget Wilson Sampras? Yeah, she later became Bridget Wilson Sampras because she married Pete Sampras. I don't know, like she was in Billy Madison, right? Like I don't know what else she was in, but like she was like, you know, I guess really into committing all of it to the movie. So I read that she did all of her own stunts, refusing to use a stunt double. I'm gonna be like, I kind of wish she would have used stunt doubles, because like I don't think her stunts were great in that movie. I don't think her lines were great, and I don't think she's used in a meaningful way.
Well,
the
let's
story
be real.
is
Sonya was not the most well-written character in the original.
No, I mean, but her story was that, you know, that was her story in the game, is that she was trying to get revenge for a partner that was murdered. I don't by Kano. Yes, yes, correct. But the extra story of Shang Tsung wanting to like capture her as his, you know, slave or whatever, and like and gives her a blowout at the end. Like I don't know what that hair was that they put on her, but that was out of control. But yeah, I like she's there. Sonya's there, so you can't be mad. Johnny Cage is there, you can't be mad. You know, like I believe all of the original fighters from the video game, the first video game, are there.
You had Jax there for a second. You had
Jax is not in the original game though.
Is he? Oh, he's from 2.
Yeah, he's from 2.
Yeah,
yeah. It's Reptile, Scorpion, Sub-Zero, Sonya, Kano, Johnny Cage, Raiden, and Shang Tsung and Goro. I think that's everybody.
Raiden's a little problematic in this movie.
Raiden is way more than problematic, but the thing is, you cannot deny that he brought that Christopher Lambert charm. Did you dislike Raiden?
I'm not gonna sit here and say like I'm the biggest Raiden fan, but that Raiden felt weird, and it probably would have felt weirder if he had the hat. But if he doesn't have the hat, that's not Raiden, and that's where I'll leave it.
But he did have the hat.
He had the hat for like a second.
He wore the hat sometimes. He didn't have to wear.
He wore the hat like once.
He wore the hat on the boat.
Yeah,
and at the beginning of the movie also.
Yeah,
he wore it more than once. That said, I will say this: like the director has been, he's cited Christopher Lambert as like he's super appreciative to him for smoothing out his job on this. Like this was his first big movie, and Lambert just brought that like veteran Highlander like charm to the movie, right? And I guess he just was a really good, positive, like laid back influence on the rest of the cast. So it turned out like I guess his, you know, I told you last week, like Sean Connery was only scheduled for like X amount of time to do Highlander. Apparently that was the same deal for Chris Lambert in Mortal Kombat. And so their plan was to like use a stunt double to fill in like all these like wider shot scenes and stuff like that, and including the stuff in Thailand. But I guess Christopher Lambert like believed that the movie would be better if it was always him. So he actually, like free of charge, flew to Thailand and did the scenes and even paid for the wrap party of the movie. So like he just wanted the movie to be the best it could be as long as he's in it, I guess. Like I do believe the movie could be better if it wasn't Christopher Lambert as Raiden. But I think it's a different time. 1995, we were only slightly annoyed that he wasn't Chinese. Like, I do remember being slightly annoyed.
I mean, to be fair, was he played by a Chinese person in the game?
Yes. Or the character, every time you saw the character in the game, he appeared Chinese.
Raiden by far is the biggest influence from Big Trouble in Little China. I mean,
or the
Tobias and Boone
rip-off.
Yes, rip-off. Yeah. Well, Tobias and Boone have clearly stated that was a huge influence on their character creation and
Yeah.
and in making Mortal Kombat. And Raiden, absolutely comes from that movie.
Raiden is a straight up rip of a character
Yes.
from that game. So if you ever watch Big Trouble in Little China, you'll be like, hey, it's Raiden. And it's unapologetic, like how much he's in that. So yes, the DNA of Raiden was always a Chinese character. And so I remember feeling weird for a second, but at that time back in the day, we were pretty used to seeing cultural appropriation and not knowing what to call it. You know what I mean? So
and having Raiden not actually fight, but
that was also weird.
That was weird too. Yes, but
however,
it is kind of weird that he does fight, considering he's a god. So there's been some retcons in this.
He intimidated, and that was one of the good. I mean, the scenes where he flies in and does stuff, and it makes sparkles with his finger and makes his eyes go. And that works because it's Christopher Lambert. Yeah, he makes it work. I mean, one of my favorite. I remember in the theaters watching it and laughing when he's sitting there telling him the whole story, and he's like, mortal people in charge of the fate, destiny of the world. And the whole audience just like burst out laughing because it was Christopher Lambert, doing that sorry. And we were just like, okay,
it's fun.
He's having fun. Yeah.
I'm just curious because we don't have a lot of time left because we want to wrap this up soon. But Clark, what was your favorite part of this whole movie, or rewatching this whole movie? What was your favorite moment?
I really like the Johnny Cage Scorpion fight that was done inside of an aircraft carrier or aircraft thing. Like, I know the behind the scenes of how that was done, and I've seen enough stuff. I mean, the fighting and the fact that they got so many professional fighters to
you could tell all of those people that didn't have names, those were professional fighters. You could just tell. Yeah.
And so I really like the sets, and I really like the fight, and I mean, that's the most impressive thing going into it again. And I really like Liu Kang. I always wish that Robin Shu that he would do more. I always wanted to see him more. I always liked seeing him in other films, and when I saw him in little stuff like Uncharted or things, I was like, oh man, I so wish he was bigger. I really wish he got to be a bigger action star, because I feel that he really deserved it.
And as a bonus, which is why we wanted you on, you're not a big fan of the games because of the violence, right? So
the hyper violence, I mean, the later the games, like since like 9 and 10 now, with the graphics are so good, it's just a little too much for me.
I mean, to be clear,
the
Mortal Kombat is the reason you have ratings on your game.
Absolutely. I know the history. I remember the Super Nintendo code.
It's both. They took both. The parents took both games to the Senate hearings, and those were the two games that were used to determine there was a need for an MPAA for video games. I can
say this: I owned Street Fighter. I didn't own Mortal Kombat.
There you go.
Back then.
Now, Ricky, I gotta know, closing words on Mortal Kombat. Did it get you hyped for Mortal Kombat?
Yeah. Will I play the game? No. Will I watch the game on YouTube? Sure. I love this. I really do like the story of. I like the story of the last arc. I like the. It's so bad it's good type of thing they've worked into it. But no, I'm definitely excited.
All right, you heard it there.
And it's same creator, Ed Boon. Well, I don't know about the movie, but Ed Boon's been with it throughout the whole thing. That's kind of incredible.
It is cool. All right, I'm just glad that we can impart one last Christopher Lambert piece of media onto Ricky. We'll move on. We'll find something new to watch for you next time. But I think we got to wrap this up. Thank you so much, Clark, for being here on the show and just chilling out with us for an hour to talk about this stuff. As always, you feel free to like and subscribe and follow us at patreon.com/GenXmedia. And anything else, Ricky?
No, thank you, True Believers. Enough said.